Hi, I'm Sue and I'm the pastor here, and welcome to our First Presbyterian Church YouTube channel. Today's message is part of our Lent series called Busy, Connecting with an Unhurried God. And this series encourages us to find balance in our lives and connect with what is most meaningful and life-giving. If you find our videos helpful and meaningful, please hit the subscribe button right now. It's right down here, right below this. And stick around after the message and I'll give you a little more info on how you can get involved and be a part of all God is doing here.
Mary and Martha are familiar people in the gospel stories. Jesus knew them well, and he hung out at their home when he was in Jerusalem. In our reading from Luke 10, verses 38 through 42, we listen in on a dispute between the two sisters. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. She came to him and asked, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her."
So Mary was something of a disruptor, wasn't she? She dared to sit at Jesus' feet as if she were a disciple. She dared to sit at Jesus' feet as if she were a man and not a woman. You see, in those days, women were not disciples. They did not sit at the feet of great teachers and learn. She and any other family there would have dishonored her father by doing that, her family, and she actually would have dishonored Jesus, the teacher, by daring to put herself in a place that put her as an equal to Jesus' true disciples. So she should have been ashamed of herself. It was a woman's place to take care of the house, to cook the meals, and to stay out of men's way. So I love Mary. For many reasons. One of them is every time I hear this story, I think back to my childhood. When I was growing up and my extended family got together for holiday meals, after the big meal, notice my dad, my grandfather, my uncle, my brothers, and which cousins? Male cousins, yes, would hang out in the living room and they'd talk, they'd laugh, they'd have a good time. And my other cousin, the only other girl, we had to go to the kitchen and clean up the dinner because that was women's work. And that's the way my grandparents were raised. And I resented it every single holiday. So when I read this story, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, apparently my grandmother skipped over this story as she read Scripture, and she grew up in the church, so I don't know how she missed it. You know it had to have been preached on, but she must have missed those Sundays. Jesus, of course, was not caught up in the social constraints of society or of his faith, for that matter. In his world that he lived in, the role of women was very well defined. But Jesus praised the woman who neglected her duty and chided the woman who did what was expected of her. Which is really interesting when you think about Martha. Martha was the one he chided. Because not too long before that, Jesus said, "Everyone who welcomes him and his disciples with hospitality will be blessed." It was a holy thing to offer hospitality and welcome to someone else. And that's what Martha was doing. She welcomed him and his disciples into her home. She saw to his needs. She provided a meal. She provided a safe place for him to rest. It was the definition of hospitality. But she was so caught up, not in offering hospitality, but in doing her duty, that she was missing the most important thing. It would be like this person that you admired most in the whole world had come to visit you, and you never spend any time with them because you're busy getting the meal ready and then cleaning up afterwards and playing hostess. And then the end of the visit comes and you're thanking them for coming, and you realize as they walk out the door that something was lost that you will never be able to recoup. Now, I suspect that every single one of us here can write a list of important things we need to do today, or this week, or this year. And if we really drill down into the minutia of it all, those are really, really, really long lists. And there's all kinds of good and important things on those lists. Providing hospitality to people we invite over to our homes, visiting our parents or our grandkids, attending a child's school activity, volunteering, helping someone in need, doing our work with pride. I mean, we have got a lot of things on our lists, but we can get so focused on those lists that we miss the most important thing. And the most important thing is to be present in the moment. To get off that hamster wheel that our lists almost force us onto, and be present with whoever we are with in that moment. It's the thing that Martha had a hard time doing when Jesus came to visit. She was so focused on her list of things to do, she wasn't present with Jesus. And so who are you with in any given moment? It might be members of your family. It might be that person you've always idolized and wanted to get to know. Could be a stranger on the street. Could be Jesus in any of those. When we stop our running around and doing things and are simply present, we discover, in spite of what I just said, that being present actually isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is the gift of that other person. We learn what's important to them. We learn what's in their heart. We hear their hopes. We are gifted with their stories. And what a gift that is. That's what I love about visiting people. Selfishly, I get the gift of their stories. And I get to see their heart. And I get to hear their hopes. But you know, if I am busy when I'm with that person thinking about the next person I'm going to go see, or all the work piled up on my desk, or the laundry that needs to be done, or whatever it is, then I miss the gift of that person. I miss the gift of time with another and connecting with another. And that's holy time. Whenever two people are really present to each other, and that means we aren't judging them. We aren't thinking about what we're going to say next as they are saying something to us. We aren't worried about our agendas. Whenever we are truly present with another person, Christ is there. And that's what we discover when we take that time to be with someone else, to be fully present in the moment. When we discover our connection with that person, we discover we are loved. We discover what gives life meaning and what makes life special. Because there is something holy in those moments between people, in those breaths we take together. What we find is God. I don't know about you, but when I'm busy worried about my lists, when I'm just trying to get things checked off so I can get through it in a day or whatever it is, I'm not always thinking about God. I'm not always paying attention to God because I have my own agenda. I've got a list to do. I got work I got to get done. And I miss God in the moments because I'm not pausing. I'm not taking that breath, and I'm not being fully present. I think the reality is for all of us, there's a lot that gets in the way of us being fully present in the moment. It is that never-ending taskmaster of our calendar. Sometimes it's our ego, feeling like, oh, I have to be doing all these things. It's being responsible can actually get in the way of being fully present in a moment. What others expect of us when we take on their expectations can stop us from being fully present in a moment because we're too worried about what other people are expecting of us. And as we talked about last week, when we live at a frantic pace, when we let worry consume us, when we let anxiety just fill our thoughts, we lose that sense of meaning and purpose, and we are anything but present. So this is the refrain for our Lent series: stop and breathe. Just take a pause in whatever you're doing. Whatever's got you so consumed, just stop and breathe. Breathe out the anxiety over what's on your list. Breathe in God's Spirit of peace. Breathe out your unrealistic expectations of yourself or of others of you. And breathe in God's love and acceptance. Slow down. Get off the hamster wheel. I can guarantee you, whatever you're worried about, whatever is on your list that you're worried about getting done, it's still going to be there after you breathe. I know sometimes we wish it wouldn't. But when you stop and breathe, you enter holy time that will never come again. And if you miss it, you just may miss Christ. Now, one of the most common excuses I hear for not taking the time to stop and breathe and to be fully present in that moment, fully present to the people in front of you, is that you simply don't have time. I've been guilty of saying the same thing or feeling the same thing. We have somewhere we have to be. We have something we have to do. There just aren't enough hours in the day. So, I get it. I am as guilty of that as everybody else. But I also get this. We find time for the things that are important to us. If something is really important to you, you will find the time to give to it and to do it. If someone is really important to you, you will find time to be with them. You may need to say no to other things to say yes to the most important thing. But never forget, you are making that choice every day about what is important to you. For Martha, what was important to her? It wasn't spending time with Jesus. It was being the ultimate host. For Mary, what was important to her? Let the dishes alone. They'll be there when Jesus leaves. Spend time with Jesus. We make choices every day about what is the most important thing in our lives. But the choices we make may not actually reflect what we want to be the most important thing. Let me give you an example. I had someone say he'd rather spend time with his family than all of this extra time on the weekends at work. He traveled about 7 months of the year, about 3 weekends a year. This was on top of his regular 9-to-5 job during the week. So he missed a lot of time with his family. And he insisted that his family was more important to him than all of those extra hours of work on the weekend. So I pushed him. Well, if your family is more important than those extra work hours, why don't you say no to the extra work hours and yes to your family? He said he was providing for his family. Okay, This was I would say, a solidly middle-class family. They were not hurting for money. They probably weren't flush. They couldn't fly first class wherever they wanted to go, but they were putting food on the table, and they were taking vacations on occasion and doing things like that. So I realize if you come from like kind of the lower stratus of our economic world, your answer might be different. But I pushed him a little bit more on that. And I said, okay, if your family is more important to you and you still want to provide for your family, what if you said no to just one of those trips each month? Would that hurt your family's ability to be taken care of? And he said, no, it wouldn't. It's like, okay, would you lose your job if you said no to one trip a month? And he said, no, he wouldn't. So why are you saying yes to that trip and no to your family? Finally got to the reason after a little bit more pushing. He felt like a failure if he didn't work all of those extra hours and bring in that extra money for his family. What was more important to him in reality was not spending time with his family, even though that's what he wanted to be more important. What was more important to him was not feeling like a failure. And so he made time for what was truly the most important thing in his life. And it wasn't what he wanted to be the most important thing. And it wasn't the most important thing, but it was to him. Once he kind of realized what was behind his kind of workaholism there, he actually started making different choices about how he spent his time. It was not easy for him to say no to some of those jobs, to say yes to his family, but he knew his family was more important. He recognized that those moments with his family and with his friends and with whoever he was with in the moment would never come again. And those moments were a gift waiting to be unwrapped. And so he started making different choices so he could be more present to his family. And when he was more present to his family, he was more present to others around him too, and they noticed. And he ended up with a whole lot richer life than he ever had before. But people noticed because he recognized those moments were holy, and they were only going to come once. And he recognized that Christ was in those moments in between those people. And if he was busy off on his trips, he would miss Christ. So he learned to say yes to the most important thing, but it wasn't what he thought it was. Mary said yes to the most important thing of being present with Jesus. As I say, most of the time, Mary was probably right there with Martha. I mean, she was a hostess. She was a woman in that society. So she was cooking, she was cleaning, she was serving. But she recognized that moment with Jesus was never going to come again. And so she paused, and she sat down at Jesus' feet, and she soaked in every word he said. I think at the heart of this text is that continual tension between those things that are a part of life and those things that are necessary for life. Those things that are a part of life are things like putting food on the table, going to work so you could provide for yourself and for your family, spending time with, taking the kids to ball games and taking the dogs to the vet or going to the grocery store, all those things that are a part of life that we have to do. I'm not saying we don't enjoy it. Some of it we do, but they're a part of life that we have to do. But what is necessary for life? It's to stop and breathe and be present with those around you, because those are holy moments that will never come again. And in those moments, you will find God. In those moments, you will find love and acceptance. In those moments, you will find what life is really about. And it's not about getting more and more and more stuff. It's not about filling up our coffers, whether those coffers be our bank accounts or our own sense of self-esteem. When you focus on being present in those moments, you are filled up with God. And that will change your life. You make choices every day about how you will spend your time and your energy. Look at those choices. Do they really reflect what is most important to you? If they don't, why not? What's behind the choices you are making? What's guiding them? You make choices every day about how you will be present to the person in front of you. Do those choices reflect your awareness of the holiness of that moment? Or does your anxiety and your worries about the next moment intrude? We are invited to choose the most important thing and to be present. If you can make that choice, I think I can safely say I will guarantee you will never regret it. And neither will those around you. Amen. Thank you for listening to today's message. We believe we weren't meant to do life alone. We are made to do it with others. And so if you're looking for a community of people who will meet you and welcome you as you are, then click on the link in our description and head over to our website, fpclincoln.org. Find out how you can join one of our small groups or studies and get connected to other people. Or if you just want some more information about the church or want to talk to someone, contact us through our website. Someone from our team will reach out to you. Every week, we get to hear stories about people finding God through these messages. And none of this would be possible without the amazing generosity of the people of First Presbyterian Church. If you want to be a part of helping these life-changing messages continue to go online every week, you can make a donation and give by clicking on the link in the description below, or just click on the Give link on our website. All the ways you can give will be there. We thank you for your generosity. We truly can't do this without you. And thank you for taking time to watch our video today. Be sure to look around our YouTube channel and check out the other messages to help you on your journey. And be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you know when we release new videos. We love you, and I hope you have a great day.